Okay, we're back, you guys. That was a good break. That was a good place. That was a good breaking point, don't you think?
It was.
So, anyway, we're back with TC. I hope you caught the first part of that interview. Go to my Facebook Live page. This is the second part. So, okay, so this next question comes from the fact that in class last week, I was watching you, and what was amazing and what made me really say, I want to do this interview, is I was watching him walk around and pick out a good thing that each person was doing. And even myself, okay, so you guys have to know when I'm working, like I was on the row machine, and I'm probably the loudest breather in that class because I'm like so focused on my breath and, you know, getting it to work for me and my power. And, so, but he's like, Julie, good breathing. It's like you feel like you're going to die, and then he comes over and says something positive.
I don't know if I said good breathing, but
did
I really?
Exactly what
man,
said.
Wow.
It was like, good breathing.
Yeah, right?
So I was just watching you do that with every person. You were picking out something positive that every person was doing, even though it was like so minute, like breathing. Right. And so my question is, you dig deep to, I watch you do this, you dig deep to find the positive in so many situations. How did you come about that habit, and how has it affected your life?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question again. With training, I guess anytime we're in a class, I just know personally, I don't want somebody in my ear being negative. It just doesn't work. And, it's just those vibes, that energy, it just doesn't work whatsoever. So it's very easily in the weight room or anywhere in life to see something and to expose it and let them know, like, man, like, you're doing a great job, like, keep it going, because that just fuels them. That's just positive energy and fuel to the fire to just get it done. We have a couple ladies in class that they just love when we're in their ear, just, hyping them up. I mean, I guess you can call me a professional hype man.
Yeah, exactly. That's
a good
so
way to put
true.
It. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So.
That's so true. Well, and it's true. It's like when you said that, I was like, okay, I'm not an idiot. I'm just like going to keep rowing.
Right.
Keep breathing, keep rowing.
Well, I think in those group settings too, like, you're kind of looking, to the right and to the left and see what people are doing. Yeah. And you some people get intimidated in some ways. Yeah. And so, at the end of the day, like, you're in there, you're grinding, you're putting in work. That in itself is a success. So, whatever I can do to build you up and, stay positive, I'm going to do it. Because being on the row machine for, several odd
2,000
minutes.
2,000 meters.
2,000 meters, that is not fun whatsoever. Not fun.
So let's say specifically 2,000 meters.
Yeah.
But it's true. Yeah. But it's so great because you can start to realize that you might not be the fastest person in class or the strongest person in class, but you're working and you're working your capacity. And I think that you have a way of really just driving that, and it's awesome. So I can see you doing that throughout all of your ventures, all of your, the things that you do.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is one of the questions I really wanted to ask you. A while back, you mentioned that you had gone through a time when you kind of lost your fire. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of us are there, and even myself, kind of have been through that time where it's like you're like kind of lost the wind in your sails. Mm-hmm. And then something happened, and maybe you weren't expecting it, and then that wind went out of your sails, and you're like, what do I do? Mm-hmm. Where do I go? How do I continue on? And there's more ahead, but at the same time you feel stuck in that place. And I really appreciate you sharing that with me, that you felt like that spark had gone out, but you said that you were finding the spark again. Right. And could you share with us, how did you find that spark again? What was it? Slow? Was it fast? How was the process to get that fire lit again? And I think if we're really being honest, like, there's always some sort of force that's coming in to blow out that flame all the time. That's true. And so for me personally, I think what we were talking about specifically was a time back in January where I had just gone through a business transition. I had just left one company and merged with a new company. Mm-hmm. It was the winter time of the month, so slow for the mortgage business. Was just at this point in time where I was just physically, mentally, and spiritually just tired and exhausted. Yeah. Finances, we're tight. It's the holiday season. And so I was just putting out all this energy, positive energy as much as what I possibly could. But, I just felt down.
I really did. I felt down. So believe it or not, what started everything was our 21-day fast at church.
Oh,
So my wife and I had never done a fast before for that experience, that expanded of time. And we had 21 days with the church where we were in a book called Reset, which you posted about. Yeah. And we were setting time away from our day to, worship and pray and the whole nine. So that kind of started things going as far as getting the spiritual reset. Then soon after that, we joined a marriage small group. Yeah. So that was just getting like our marriage on point, even though we are newlyweds. It was something that, we wanted to attack as soon as possible. Yeah. And then the month of February, soon after that, we started this Whole 30 challenge. So we were just like in this point in season and time where we were not like on purpose, but we were like resetting every aspect of life. Wow. And so the health benefits, doing the Whole 30. So we cut out all added sugars. No grains, no dairy, the whole nine. So I was starting to feel healthy at the end of the day. And then lastly, also with church, it's funny how it all surrounds the church. Yeah. But we started doing a 90-day tithing challenge. And so for me personally, and this is just being transparent, like I've tithed, here and there a little bit, but never entirely. Yeah. So I was completely surrendering everything at that point in time. Wow. And it was completely uncomfortable. Every one of these were uncomfortable, but sure enough, like being able to take a step back and resetting all the basics in life, the most important things in life, ignited everything else. For me and for us.
So you got your spiritual life in order, your relational life in order, your body, your physical life in order, and then your finances in order. Oh yeah. Man, that's a total reset. But you did the work. That's the thing.
Correct.
It's like you were plugging away and kept doing the task even though you didn't feel like it. Probably.
Correct. Yeah, it was hard. It was difficult. Yeah. Especially, it's uncomfortable, and just like working out. It's uncomfortable. You don't want to do those things. Yeah. But, in order to be stronger in all those different areas, you have to have that, go against that resistance and that type of training in ways. So.
Wow, that's really good. I love that. So what would you say to somebody who's kind of gone through that place where they feel like they've lost their fire? What would be your first thing that you would tell them to do, or like your first recommendation?
Just take a step back from everything. And just, evaluate, your surroundings and the basics in life. Where are you at mentally? Where are you at spiritually? Where are you at physically? And all those things, combined together have some sort of influence on, everything else that's going on in life. Just kind of like some spring cleaning, more or less.
Yeah, I like it. Right, exactly. And it was the spring, which is awesome.
I know, right?
Okay, so one thing that I find interesting and I like about TC too is he is always focused on leading himself. In all of your jobs, you have to lead people. So, as a mortgage person and then as a coach and as a trainer, you're always leading people. But I think one of the things that I see you doing is leading yourself well before you lead other people. So how do you lead yourself well before you can lead other people?
Well, no, it's another good question. Well, I try to practice everything that I preach. So believe it or not, I got criticized this last weekend in one of the workouts. Somebody was just like, I wonder if TC does these workouts that he makes us do, and I'm thinking in the back of my head, well, like, yeah, I do, but it's just kind of like one of those things where I got to practice what I preach as well. Yeah. So if it's in the gym, I got to make sure that I too am in the gym as much as possible, and that's actually one of the things I need to focus on more now is taking care of myself. And so, other things that, I do, I read a whole lot, which is, something similar to what you do. To, fill myself with, just positive words and encouragement.
What are you reading right now?
So what am I reading right now? I've been stuck on it. I just need to pick it up and finish it. It's Mark Batterson. Chase the Lion.
I have not read that yet.
Yeah, it's really good.
So many people say you have to read that, Chase the Lion.
Oh yeah, it's really good.
Okay,
really
I have
good.
To pick that up.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it.
And you just read The Art of War?
The War of Art. Yes, by Pressfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, super good. I like the concept behind the book. I'm sorry, we're going off on a completely different tangent, but I like the concept on that one because it's talking about an artist and trying to regain the creativity side of it, but it applies in everyday life, more or less. And finding the things that are holding you back from doing what you're supposed to be doing, and he calls it resistance.
Yes. I think my favorite one is he says, resistance will only come if you're trying to do something better.
Right.
It's like if you're trying to get a six-pack or something, you're going to have a lot of resistance. But if your goal is to lay on the couch and eat a bag of potato chips a day, you're going to have no resistance in that. And so I always try to remember that when I'm feeling resistance, I'm like, okay, it's because I'm trying to go to the next level.
Right, exactly.
I love that example, but there's so many.
It's the same thing with the gym or work, whatever it may be. Whenever I wake up in the morning, I'm not necessarily, oh my goodness, I want to go to the gym today. Or, oh my goodness, I cannot wait to get in the office today. No, but that in itself is resistance. So therefore, I need to fight that and get going.
I love it. Okay, now this is like the one that throws everybody mostly. What do you believe that you think most people don't believe?
Yeah, that was a really good question. I had to think about that for a while.
I know.
And I don't know, maybe people do agree with it, but that humility is a great place to be in.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so, and I don't mean in meekness. I mean in just being humbled. For instance, starting a business and starting a podcast, it's humble beginnings.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're learning so much, and you are growing at the end of the day. You know, working out. I started doing CrossFit. Yes, I know there's a lot of people out there like, you're CrossFitting? No, I don't CrossFit. But I started joining one of our classes that we offer at Newton's Law Fitness, and it is so humbling because I'm absolutely getting destroyed. You know, and so it's just like, man,
and
like
you're used to being like the coach. You're used to like, hey, you guys do this, you know?
Yeah. So
That's
you know,
awesome.
like just being in that position where you're being humbled, like it's uncomfortable. It's not fun at times, but it's putting you in a position where you are like you're being shaped and you're being molded. You know, in different ways. So I love the challenge.
Being that student is always hard, like because you always want to be that. You know, I don't know about you, but I always feel like when I walk in the situation, I want to be. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what I'm doing. I want to feel like that. But when you start that new thing, then you know you're like, ooh, I got a lot to learn. Right. You're like the little fish in the big pond, which we should always be. If you're the biggest fish in the pond, you need to get in another pond.
Oh, goodness.
Right?
That reminds me of another book. Have you read Malcolm Gladwell, David and Goliath?
Yes.
So he talks about that. He talks about that, being the concept of, do you want to be a big fish in a small pond, or you want to be a small fish in a big pond?
Yes.
You know? So if you're a big fish, then how are you really growing, right? In a small pond.
I love it. Go read David and Goliath by Malcolm
really good book.
Gladwell. Okay, then lastly, I want to ask you this quick question. Think about where you were 10 years ago. 10 years ago, whatever you were doing. So I know you weren't in Napa. You were 10 years ago. What if your struggles, what were your fears, what were your hopes, your dreams? And then if you saw, like if you ran into that Thomas Coakley from 10 years ago walking down the street.
Right.
What would you say?
I probably would walk on the other side of the street.
You would? You'd be like, I'm out.
I'm kidding.
So what would you say to that Thomas Coakley that you've learned over the last 10 years and you've changed and stuff?
Yeah, I've never thought about that, so I appreciate you asking that question. So 10 years ago, I was 20. So I think as most 20-year-olds, I struggled in identifying who I really was as Thomas Coakley. And I was allowing relationships and friendships to really identify who I was at that point in time. And so if I ran into myself 10 years ago, or the past self, I would tell myself to let go of those toxic relationships and friendships, and fully allow God to, bring in the people that you need, and that are going to build you up and going to be there for the long run. On top of that, I would probably tell myself to not be afraid of failure. Truly, don't be afraid of failure. Going through those experiences and just jumping out there and making those leaps of faith are ultimately going to allow you to grow and be better and do better. Wow.
That's awesome. I love it. Thank you. And I think that probably resonates with so many people, that are watching and listening today, because there's always that fear of failure, no matter how old you are. I'm 43, and it's always knocking at the door, and I love that. It's just like you're saying, go for it.
Right. Absolutely.
Don't be afraid.
Absolutely.
It's good. Well, thank you so much, and we just honor you for all that you do in our lives. I know Damien and I just really appreciate who you are and what you and Alex and what you bring to our lives. And so thank you for sharing this today and being so transparent and just speaking words of life. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's going to be on the podcast in a little bit, couple weeks, so we'll let you know for sure.
Yes.
And
if you haven't subscribed to their podcast, do so.
Oh,
Life Builders by Julie Hamilton. Yeah. Do it now.
And how can people find you? That's what I meant to ask you.
Oh, you can find me on Facebook, Thomas Coakley. Instagram, IMTC12. Yeah, pretty much it.
All right. Go follow him. He's awesome. You'll be inspired, I promise.
Thanks, guys. Have a great
day.
day.
Here's the last thing I wanted to say is I always wonder, remember we were talking about the positivity thing? It's like I always wonder, every Saturday you come up with another way to say they did a great job. And sometimes I'm like, is he ever going to run out of ways to say they did a good job?
I don't think there's ever a way to run out of. There's always something to find. There's always a positivity to find in anything and everything.
I know. It's just such a good example to me of how you're like always like digging for that.
Yeah.
I love that about you.
No, I give you guys props. I mean, just showing up on Saturdays, you know, who wants to roll out of bed at 8 o'clock in the morning to get your fanny whipped? So.
Yeah, that is true. Not me. All right. Love you guys.
All right, guys.
Go live your big, amazing, beautiful lives. And I will see you Monday at 8:30. Bye.
Take it easy.